What's going on, guys? Young Diesel here, and today we need to talk about something that's about to hit every single one of us in the trucking industry harder than a blown steer tire at 70 miles per hour. I'm talking about the new tariffs that just got announced, and brother, this is going to change everything about how we do business on these roads. So before we dive deep into this, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're going to be covering this situation as it develops. And trust me, you're going to want to stay updated on this one. This isn't just political noise. This is your paycheck we're talking about. All right, so here's what happened. President Trump just announced brand new 100% tariffs on Chinese imports starting November 1st. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does that have to do with me behind the wheel? Everything, man. Everything. Let me break this down for you in trucker terms. Right now, we've already got 30% tariffs on Chinese goods. That's already been affecting freight volumes and what we're hauling. But now, they're slapping on another 100% on top of that. We're talking about goods from China potentially getting hit with combined tariffs that could push prices through the absolute roof. Now, why is this happening? Well, China just put export controls on rare earth minerals. These are the materials that go into making computer chips, electronics, all the high-tech stuff. And Trump basically said, you want to play that game? We're going all in. He called China's move extraordinarily aggressive and said they're trying to hold the world captive through their export policies. Here's where this gets real for us. Think about everything that comes through our ports from China. Consumer goods, electronics, car parts, manufacturing materials, you name it. A massive chunk of what we haul either comes from China or has Chinese components in it. When those tariffs hit, one of two things is going to happen. Either the cost of those goods skyrockets and people buy less, which means less freight for us to move, or companies scramble to find alternative suppliers, which could actually mean more domestic freight, but also major supply chain chaos in the short term. And let me tell you something else. The stock market absolutely tanked when this news hit. The Dow, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, all of them took major hits. Why does that matter to us? Because when the markets crash, nervous businesses cut costs. And one of the first things they do is reduce shipping and logistics spending. We've seen this before. Companies start consolidating loads, delaying shipments, and squeezing carriers on rates. But there's another layer to this that nobody's really talking about yet. Trump also said he's going to put export controls on critical software. Now that might sound like it doesn't affect us, but think about it. Modern trucks are computers on wheels. Our ELDs, our GPS systems, our fleet management software, even the computerized engines in these new trucks, all of that relies on software and chips. If this trade war escalates and we start seeing retaliatory moves from China affecting the tech supply chain, we could be looking at delays in truck manufacturing, delays in parts, and even issues with the technology we rely on every single day. I've been in this industry long enough to remember what happened during the last major trade disputes. Freight volumes dropped, rates got squeezed, small carriers went out of business, owner-operators struggled to keep their wheels turning, and that was with smaller tariffs than what we're looking at now. Let me put some numbers into perspective for you. If you're hauling container freight from the ports, right now you're already dealing with the impacts of previous tariffs. But imagine if the cost of goods inside those containers suddenly doubles because of these new tariffs. Importers are going to import. Less imports means fewer containers moving inland. Fewer containers means less work for drayage drivers and less work for the long haul guys moving goods from distribution centers. And it's not just import freight. This affects exports too. When we hit China with tariffs, they hit us back. American agricultural products, machinery, manufactured goods, all of that stuff we export to China could see retaliatory tariffs. That means farmers produce less for export, manufacturers slow down production, and again, less freight for us to move. Now, I want to talk about the timing of all this because it matters. There's apparently a trade truce that's about to expire. Trump made these announcements right as that deadline is approaching. There was supposed to be a meeting between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping at an upcoming APEC summit, but now that's up in the air. Trump basically said the meeting might not even happen given how tense things are right now. What this tells me is that we're in for a period of major uncertainty, and uncertainty is terrible for the trucking industry. Shippers don't know what to plan for, carriers don't know how to price their services, drivers don't know if the freight is going to be there next month. Here's something else to consider. Remember when COVID hit and supply chains went absolutely haywire? We had container ships backed up at ports, warehouses overflowing, and then suddenly everything shifted and we had too much capacity and not enough freight. This tariff situation could create similar disruptions, just in a different way. Companies might rush to import goods before November 1st when the tariffs hit, creating a short-term freight boom. Then after that deadline, imports could drop off a cliff, leaving us scrambling for loads. I've already been hearing from some of y'all in the comments and in my DMs asking about what this means for rates. Here's my honest take. In the short term, if there's a rush to beat the tariff deadline, we might see spot rates spike temporarily. But long term, if these tariffs stick and trade volumes decrease, we're looking at downward pressure on rates. There's already too much trucking capacity in the market. If freight volumes drop because of reduced trade, that supply and demand imbalance gets even worse for us. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture here. This isn't just about one announcement. This is part of an ongoing trade war that's been brewing for years. We've seen tariffs go up, come down, go back up again. Earlier this year, tariffs were apparently as high as 145% before coming down to the current 30%. Now we're going back up to potentially 130% combined. This roller coaster is absolutely brutal for businesses trying to plan their logistics and supply chains. And here's the thing that really gets me. The people making these decisions in Washington, they're not thinking about the truck driver trying to make his truck payment. They're not thinking about the small carrier trying to keep his authority active. They're not thinking about the owner-operator who just bought a new truck and is now staring down at potentially declining freight volumes and falling rates. Don't get me wrong. I understand the strategic reasoning behind some of this. China does dominate the rare earth mineral market. They do have a lot of control over critical supply chains, and there are legitimate national security and economic concerns about that dependence. But the way these trade disputes play out, it's always the working people who feel the pain first and feel it hardest. I want you guys to start thinking about how to position yourselves for what's coming. If you're running your own authority, start diversifying your freight sources if you haven't already. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you're leased to a carrier, have conversations with your fleet manager about what they're seeing in terms of freight forecasts. If you're a company driver, just be aware that if your company hauls a lot of import or export freight, there could be changes coming. Also, and this is important, watch your expenses. I know fuel prices have been all over the place. I know maintenance costs keep going up. But if we're heading into a period where freight might be uncertain, you need to have a cash cushion. Don't overextend yourself on new equipment purchases right now. Don't take on new debt unless you absolutely have to. Hunker down and prepare for potential rough waters ahead. Another thing I'm watching closely is whether other countries get pulled into this. If the U.S. and China are in a full-blown trade war, other nations have to choose sides or try to play the middle. That could shift global trade routes. It could mean new opportunities for freight between the U.S. and other countries, or it could mean less trade overall. We just don't know yet. I'm also thinking about the political angle here. We've got elections coming up. Trade policy is always a hot button issue. How this plays out over the next few months could depend a lot on political pressures and public reaction. If the economy starts really hurting because of these tariffs, there could be pressure to back off. But if the administration digs in, we could be in for a long haul, no pun intended. You know what else concerns me? The technology angle that Trump mentioned about export controls on software. Our entire industry is moving toward more and more technology. Electric trucks, autonomous vehicle testing, advanced fleet management systems, all of that requires cutting-edge software and hardware. If we get into a situation where the tech supply chain gets disrupted because of these trade fights, it could slow down innovation in our industry. It could make trucks more expensive. It could create parts shortages for the high-tech components in modern trucks. I've been doing this long enough to know that we've been through tough times before and we'll get through whatever comes next, but that doesn't mean it won't be painful. The 2008 financial crisis devastated the trucking industry. The COVID pandemic created chaos like we'd never seen. And now we're potentially heading into a major trade war that could reshape global commerce. Here's what I'm going to be watching for over the next few weeks. First, what happens with that APEC meeting? If Trump and Xi actually sit down and talk, there might be a chance for de-escalation. But if that meeting gets canceled or goes badly, well, buckle up. Second, I'm watching what industry groups like the American Trucking Associations and the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association say about this. They'll be analyzing the impacts and, potentially lobbying for policies that help our industry. Third, I'm watching the spot market rates and load board activity. That'll tell us in real time how freight volumes are being affected. I also want to hear from you guys. Drop a comment and let me know what you're seeing out there. Are shippers talking about this? Are brokers changing their behavior? Are you seeing any shifts in the types of loads available? This community is strong because we share information and look out for each other. One more thing I want to mention. Be careful about panic decisions. Yes, this situation is serious. Yes, it could impact all of us, but don't make major business decisions based on fear or speculation. Get good information. Talk to people you trust. Look at your own specific situation. What works for a mega carrier might not work for a small fleet. What makes sense for a company driver might not make sense for an owner-operator. At the end of the day, we're truckers. We adapt, we overcome, we keep these wheels turning no matter what Washington or Beijing throws at us, but we also need to be smart and prepared. So here's my advice as we head into this uncertain period. Stay informed, watch your cash flow, diversify your freight if possible, don't overextend on debt, build relationships with multiple shippers and brokers, keep your equipment in top shape so you're not dealing with breakdowns during critical times. And most importantly, take care of yourself. Stress can kill you out here just as fast as anything else. This trade war situation is developing rapidly. I'm going to keep covering it as new information comes out. If this video was helpful, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. I'll be doing follow-up videos as this situation evolves, and you're going to want to stay on top of this. I'm also going to be doing a live stream later this week where we can discuss this in more detail and I can answer your questions in real time. So check the community tab for details on when that's happening. Look, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly how this is all going to play out, but I can tell you that knowledge is power. The more we understand what's happening and why, the better decisions we can make for ourselves and our businesses. This industry has been through wars, recessions, pandemics, and every kind of economic challenge you can imagine, and we're still here. We're still rolling. We're still the backbone of this economy. No matter what happens with tariffs and trade wars, this country needs trucks and truck drivers. They can't outsource us. They can't automate us away overnight. We're essential, but that doesn't mean it won't get bumpy. So prepare yourself mentally and financially for potential challenges ahead. And remember, we're all in this together. The trucking community is one of the strongest communities out there. We help each other, we share information, we look out for one another. All right, guys, that's what I've got for you today. This is a serious situation and I wanted to lay it all out for you straight, no chaser. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you're seeing out there. Let me know what concerns you the most about this. And let's keep this conversation going because we're all going to be affected by this in one way or another. Stay safe out there, keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you in the next one.